Hi guys, and welcome to this special episode of the Happy Knitting Podcast. I'm not sure what to call it yet, but it is Tuesday. It's the 2nd of July 2024, and I thought I would do a little vlog, sort of what I knit in a day video today, because I have a day of work, but my son is in nursery. I have a couple of things to do today, like going to a parents' evening at school, all of that stuff. But mostly I'm hoping to do some knitting today. Essentially, I only have the day off because I have more training towards the end of the week, so I'll be in London twice. So I thought, why don't I take you along a little bit? You know me, I'm not the typical vlogger, podcaster. I don't like filming in public. Some of the vlogging stuff, like filming myself having coffee, I don't find it particularly interesting. But I thought I would sort of chat to you guys what I've been doing today, what I've worked on so far, what my plans are for later, and so on. So this will be a bit more informal, but this morning I did a very, very rainy, terribly rainy nursery drop-off. We are in July. It is cold. I was wearing a raincoat, a woolen jumper, and it felt like October, and I like it. I love the colder weather. Admittedly, it doesn't have to be this rainy, but still. And I managed to take some knitting with me. So I took my little sock bag. This is one of the bags I use for my sock knitting, because you'll know that most of my projects I keep in these kinds of baskets because I find them handy around the house. But I often take socks when I'm commuting and so on, so I have them in proper bags. And I got myself a nice coffee and took my knitting and my headphones, of course. And I've done some knitting this morning at Costa. I was sort of halfway through the heel, so I finished the heel on the sock and have done a little bit on the foot, not very much. But I think the sock is just really pretty. I really, really like it. This yarn I got from my sisters for Christmas. It's from Tamiwi Colors, who is, I believe, a German yarn dyer. And this is sort of a more sort of rustic sock yarn. It feels really nice and slightly crunchy in a nice way. I like it. So I know these socks will last forever. And I think these will be the sort of socks that I can wear to work or have sticking out of my boots in autumn and winter. So yeah, first sock still, but I have made some progress. And because I'll be going into London twice this week, I'll probably keep the rest of this sock to take on my commute and pray that I get a seat, because quite often I don't. So I did that and then got home and decided to catch up on my blankets, which I wanted to show you. So we have a bit of crochet talk today. So this is my latest finished object. I have finished my granny square, which you can see is quite large. I love this. I love this so much. Essentially, it's just a giant granny square. I've talked about it on the regular podcast. And then I did actually some weighing towards the end, because what I tend to do is I just go round and round and round trying to maximize yarn, and then I run out. And these rounds are really long. So I was really proud of myself. I did the maths and figured out that I couldn't do another round in granny stitch, but I could do it in, is it half trebles? I get so confused. So I did sort of like the tiniest bit of a border. I'm showing you the wrong side as well. I think depending if you're in the US or the UK, this is either half double crochet or half treble. I get very confused, but that's what I did. And I used up practically all of the yarn. This is how much I had left. This blanket is almost 600 grams of yarn, so I'm very happy to have used it all up. And isn't it beautiful? I love it. I still need to cut the ends and weave in the ends, but as there is only really one end to weave in, because this yarn was in a cake from Puff Flower Crochet and Puff Flower Yarns. No, I've forgotten. Anyways, so she does all the color changes for you. The yarn is already knotted, so you can just, go round and round, and you don't have to worry about ends or changing colors. And yeah, so I finished this one. And I have been so into crochet, so I've just been keeping going on my crochet blanket. So I wanted to show you, because I haven't shown you in a while, this blanket, which is the very confusingly named Retro Stripe Sunburst Granny Throw by Mallory Krull, who is Naughty Krull Crochet, I believe. It's a free pattern. She has a lot of really pretty patterns, and this one, I think you can buy a paid for version, or you can just use the instructions on her blog with some ads, and they're fine. And look, I have made some progress. So I squared it off. I had 4x4 squares, and then I added some more yesterday. I seem to be working on this blanket in in chunks, really. So I think I did about 7 squares, and then I got really sick of it and I put it away again. But this blanket is growing. It looks a bit uneven, which I think is just the Sunburst granny squares. They don't all lie particularly flat, but I think once I wash this and block it, it should be okay. And what I think I will do, rather than the original sort of bubbly border, I think I might actually do a fair amount of granny stitch around the blanket, which I think just gives it a bit more of a modern look, and also I think it should like stabilize everything a little bit. So yeah, that's where we are with that blanket, and the yarn I'm using is the original yarn from the pattern, which is Red Heart Super Saver in Retro Stripe and Red Heart Super Saver in Aran, which comes in these ginormous balls. And I am using a 5mm crochet hook. I should have said for the other blankets. Basically for all of my other blankets I use 4mm crochet hooks. So there's that. And then I have been working on yet another blanket which lives in this giant basket. And this is also a Sunburst Granny Square sort of project. So for this, I mentioned this a couple of months ago. These are my first ever Sunburst Granny Squares, which I think they're just really pretty. There are different ways of doing them, and these have one round less than the ones in my previous blanket. So I think these lie a lot nicer. And I just love these colors. I started this and then I think I sort of got sick of it. And now I've picked this back up, and I think I'll do some more on this today actually, because I really, really like it. Essentially, I used a mix of different tutorials to make these Sunburst Granny Squares. And then when I was sick of all the color changes, I just bordered it all with granny stitch. So essentially now I'm doing another massive granny square, but this one will of course have the squares in the middle, which I think is very, very pretty. And for the, I don't want to say border because it's going to be a substantial part of the blanket, but for this part I'm always using 2 different stripes and then the neutral. And I love this yarn. I forgot how much I love this yarn. This is my first time working with Yarnsmith Create DK, which I think is nicer than the Stylecraft double knit, what's it called? Special DK? Super soft special? The Stylecraft one that everyone uses. I like this one more. And obviously they have a ton of colors. I just picked these at some point quite a while ago. I have one 100-gram cake of all of the single colors, and then I have I think 3 of these which sort of blend it all together, and I think it works quite nicely. So there's a little crochet blanket update for you guys. We've just had some lunch and I am debating on what to do next. Part of me just wants to sit and crochet and knit. What I also should do is tidy up my craft room. I'm not sure if I feel like doing that though. But what I might do is actually catch up on some of my knitting admin. Hang on, should I get my notebook and show you? Right, so this is my notebook. This is one of the rocket books, I think they're called, that you can erase. So it's really thin, which I like. especially for anything really, because you can write in it with these pens and then just wipe it, whoops, with a cloth. So what I use this for my knitting admin, I still use Ravelry sort of, but I don't love it. So I tend to just have a list for myself with all my whips, because I do need some kind of visual reminder on like all the projects to sort of figure out what I want to do, what I want to focus on. So I keep a list of that, and then again, because you can just wipe it off, I can, rather than having endless pages, because I used to have a paper notebook and it was just endless pages of lists of whips, which was not very interesting. So now I can wipe it off, and then, so I should update that. And then also, somewhere in here, I have my yarn trackers. So this is my recent one where I track how much yarn I have in and out of my stash. So it is relatively easy. If I end up ordering yarn, which does sometimes happen, I just weigh it and put it on here. In terms of yarn out, I'm always torn, because I should only count, you know, the actual weight of the whip or the finished object. But then if I knit a pair of socks, if I buy a skein of sock yarn, it's 100 grams in. But then if I use it to make a pair of socks, it's only maybe 65 grams out. And technically that's correct, because I do have leftovers, but then where is the limit? Sometimes I then donate leftovers, or they go into mini projects, which I don't necessarily count into these stats. So I haven't worked out the perfect system, but for now I'm just, you know, weighing stuff as it is finished. And I find it really useful to have a sort of visual reminder of the projects, because again, every time I finish something, I sort of label that as well. So I have a really good track record of all the things that I've finished, and I rely on this more than I do on Ravelry. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to update this. I have 3 garments going on at the moment, all of which I have made significant progress on, which I'll show you that later. And sort of just make a plan going forward. What do I want to finish? Do I want to cast something on? Make a bit of a plan, and then let's see if I still have motivation to tidy up my craft room, or maybe I just put my feet up and do some actual crafting. We shall see. Before I go though, should I show you what I'm wearing? This is actually the first time I am officially wearing my hand-spun lento, which is by Jana Helin. I talked about this in my previous episode, so I won't go into detail, but I'm so glad I can finally wear it, because it is very, very cold outside, at least for July. And I was worried that I made this too short, but actually I think it's perfect, and I love it. I love the look. It's so cozy. So yeah, that is what I am wearing today. Right, so I've had a little catch up with my little notebook, and I have realized I don't have 3 garments on the go, I have 4, because I have the base camp shrine, which I keep on just neglecting completely, but I've been working a lot on all of my other garments, so I thought I'd show them to you really quickly, and hopefully we can make a decision on what I should maybe focus on, because you know how sometimes you just get stuck because there are so many projects. All of them at the moment are on Body Island, and yeah, it's a lot. So I think what I need to do is focus on maybe 1 or 2 and just get them done. So talking about my oldest sweater rep, this one I haven't shown you in a while. I sort of just left it to hibernate for a while, but I have finally dragged it out again. This is my hand-spun Strange Brew sweater, which is a pattern by Tinker Knits. As you can see, I am using handspun, and then I'm using a German merino yarn, which is very, very crunchy again. Don't have the label with me here. Do I? Oh, I do. Here it is. This is Finkhof Wolle, and like I said, it's German merino, which tends to be quite rough. I really like it. It's a really beautiful woolly yarn, but it is not what you would typically have in mind if you're talking about merino. I think this is about DK-ish, or maybe it's sport. I bought this years and years and years ago, And I just remember they had a thin and a thicker version, and this one is the thinner one. Who knows? Who really knows? I can tell you, I'm knitting it to a DK gauge. I also hope I have enough yarn. I am on my second skein out of 3. And last time I showed this to you, I hadn't really done much on the body. But look, I have made some progress on this. Basically all of my sweater whips, except for the strange, the base camp shrug, I have worked on the bodies, which I think is why I'm sort of stuck. I'm just doing mindless stockinette on 3 different garments, which is a lot. So I need to decide which ones to focus on, and I think it might not be this one. But I have done a fair bit. I'm really happy. I think I've done about... This is what I did on the weekend, from here down to here. But I obviously did more than that, so maybe I've done about 6 to 8 inches. So good progress on that. I have also been working on my Anchors tee a fair amount, and I think this may be the one to finish first, because A, it's a tee, so it doesn't really need much in terms of sleeves, and B, it makes more sense to finish this because we are in July, so if I want to wear it this summer, I should probably finish it. So this is the Anchors tee, talked about it plenty of times. The yarn that I'm using for this is a Rowan Revive cotton, which I really, really like. Last time I showed it to you, I hadn't split for the sleeves yet, so you can see how much progress I've made since last Thursday. I have done a fair amount of this. The only reason why I'm not focusing on this 100% is that this is a cotton yarn, and if I knit too much with cotton, it will ruin my wrists. So I don't want to hyper focus on one thing and then mess up my wrists. But I don't know, how much more of the body do I have to do? Probably not that much. So my plan at the moment is to finish my second ball of yarn. I have 3 in total. And once I've finished this ball of yarn, I'll probably do the sleeves just to get off Body Island a little bit. And then once I finish the body, it'll just be done. And I think this may be my plan for today. Maybe, do you think, in the afternoon I can finish this ball of yarn? I think I could. So should we set that as a goal? And I will let you know how that goes. But yeah, lots of progress on this, and I really like it. I think it'll be very, very pretty. So yeah, that is garment number 2. And then while watching football last night, and just whenever I didn't really know what to work on, which has been a lot recently, I have also been making progress on this. So this is my linen quill no frills stripes sweater. So I'm just using the no frills sweater by Petite Knit as a sort of blank canvas. You know me, I tend to reuse patterns because, you know, a top-down raglan is a top-down raglan. I don't want to keep buying different versions of the same thing. So I just reuse them. And as you can tell, this one is a really, really drapey version because I'm just using a fingering weight yarn. I am using Linen Quill by Pearl Soho. And you may remember in the beginning of the year, I knit a jumper out of this yarn held double. And now I'm basically using the leftovers and some extra skeins to do a single strand project. And this is going to be like a sweatshirt. I'm really, really excited about this. It's a little bit annoying to knit because it is thin yarns, but I am basically still knitting it on a DK gauge, so I can't really complain. And I think this might be really, really wearable. Obviously the colors, I don't know. I really liked them when I started. Kai, my husband, thinks it's quite ugly. I think it's fun. It's not something I might wear every day because I think you might get sick of it, but I think it could be really cute. And yeah, can you see how much progress, again, I've made on the body? So I think this marker is where it was the last time I showed it to you. So again, I am quite proud of myself. I've worked through quite a lot on the body, but again, it is not close to the rib. I think that's my problem. All of these projects, I'm sort of stuck right in the middle. But I do really like it, and actually showing it to you makes me like it even more. As you can tell, I'm just doing random stripes. And on the body, besides the cast on edge, I then change colors next to the raglan stitch and the back, which means that there is no jog on the back. And now I am changing colors obviously on the side as well, so I'm really happy because quite a lot of the striped sweaters I have, I'm looking at You Stripes Top by Andrea Mallory, they'll have the color changes down the back, which I just think is not the best color placement. So I'm very happy with this, and again, stuck on Body Island, but yeah, I think the more I talk about it, the more I think I'm going to try to do some serious progress on this today, and then maybe focus on this next. I don't know, I just need to sort of get my whip count down a little bit, but also I want to cast things on. I'm really feeling like casting on more socks, possibly socks using Sock Yarn How Double, which is a great stash buster, and also I need some warmer socks. But I think I will be good today. We also have the Sock Cal by Westness coming up, so yeah, I'll be good today. I'll sit down now, avoid my craft room chaos, and just work on this, and we'll update you to see how we go. Alright, you guys, I have made it. I have finished my ball of yarn. This is an awkward angle, but look. This is how far I've gotten with my second ball of yarn. So I've used about 200 grams of this cotton yarn, and I think it looks really nice, doesn't it? I really like it. So I think I'm gonna pick up for the sleeves, at least do one. I think I want to just do a short sleeve, nothing major. And then I should be able to get through the body pretty quickly. So yeah, I like it. Let me know what you think, but I think it's coming along pretty well. And we're back. I have been doing some more knitting, and look, we have one sleeve. So what I've done essentially is I have picked up my stitches, done 20 rounds of stockinette, and then just 10 rounds of ribbing as basically to make it match this. And the first sleeve is done. I originally thought this might be a bit too wide because I didn't do any decreasing, but I think actually it'll be perfect. I didn't want it to be too snug considering this doesn't have much positive ease to start with. But yeah, I think it'll be perfect, and I have literally just put the needles onto my second sleeve. So this is what I'm going to be doing later today. And as you can see, I just put them stolen the tips from the body. And what I do is I use these bulb stitch markers. I use them to tighten my interchangeable needles because I always lose the little keys, but I always have a million of these bulb stitch markers, so I find that much more useful. And then to prevent the stitches from falling off, again, I always lose the little screw things and you have to find them. But because interchangeable needles, most of them, they'll have a little hole, you can just put a marker through the hole, and that way you won't lose your stitches. So yeah, there we go. Looks so much better, doesn't it, with one sleeve. I'll do the other one today, and then yeah, I feel like I am on the home stretch with this, which is great. I also did some weaving in of the ends, so I wove in the ends properly of this, which is my mini mock neck tank, which I haven't really worn, but yeah, at least the ends are woven in properly now because I sort of do a bad job throughout knitting it, but then sometimes I have to tighten it up, which was the case for this one. I also wove in the ends on my handspun sweater that I showed you earlier, and why I brought this out is because I wanted to quickly show you another very cheap trick that I do to mark the back of my garments, because I am way too lazy. I hate sewing things. I have these little tags that you can sew in, but yeah, who has the time? I don't. So what I do is I just use a contrasting yarn. In this case, I stole some cotton. I actually used one of the ends from this, and I just sew it in there. So I have a tiny little marker of where the back is. So that's now all done. The only thing you have to remember is, in this case, it doesn't matter because I won't put this in the machine anyways, but if you're using a superwash yarn, then don't use a non-superwash for the little tag, i.e. I was going to put something in the back of this as well because I did weave in all of my ends for this, all of the ends that I had so far, but obviously I'm not going to put this non-superwash yarn into the back of this because this will definitely be going in the machine. So yeah, little tip there. And yeah, I wove in the ends on this because this is a cotton yarn, so obviously I tend to otherwise either spit splice yarns or I sort of do like a weave and steven thing. But with the cottons, I find that you have to weave them in properly in order to make it look nice as well. So I had a couple of joins just from joining balls and starting the sleeves and running out of yarn and so on. So yeah, this looks quite nice and tidy now as well. While I've been knitting, I've been watching the Tour de France, which has been really, really fun. And yeah, I think basically I'm just going to end the filming for today because I'm going to go to parents' evening. My son will be back very soon, and then I'll hopefully be going out for dinner. So yeah, thanks for following along. I hope you found this enjoyable. I enjoy filming these little snippets. So yeah, I think that's it for today. Today has been a weird day just because it's a Tuesday, but it sort of feels like a weekend, except my son is in nursery. But it was really nice to have this day because on last Sunday, the day before yesterday, it didn't feel like a Sunday. I spent half the day sorting out medical stuff for my son at the hospital and getting him glasses and all of these things. So yeah, it feels good to get some time back to just relax, and I haven't really done that much today, and yeah, very, very happy because the next couple of days will be busy. Tomorrow my husband's in London, I'll have my son, and then Thursday, Friday I'll be in London, and then who knows what's happening after that. So thank you so much for joining me today. Maybe I'll be back with a new episode on the weekend. Maybe I'll take a weekend off. I haven't decided yet. But I will talk to you guys very, very soon. Take care. Happy knitting. Bye.